Both Ross McIntosh's Seeds and Brian Fees' Mom's Cancer use a limited third-person perspective to convey a theme of detachment. Cancer comics, dubbed so because they deal with the views and experiences of those living with the illness, allow a form of expression unique to comic books, the detached third-person witness. Both Fees and McIntosh exist within their respective stories, not as those directly suffering from cancer, but as children of cancer patients. One of the most powerful moments in Seeds is McIntosh's final moments with his father. The title is given proper narrative context, and Ross is forced to both physically and mentally let go of his father. Through simple use of pronouns and framing, we are put directly into McIntosh's shoes. The space between panels represents less and less time, down to a few seconds. As darkness intrudes on the frame, Ross whispers one more goodbye to his father. The moment hangs before moving on. From there, the story becomes so much more about Ross's perspective coping than of his father's survival. All that is left is Ross's point of view, and while even more darkness consumes the frame, like so much fear and anxiety, the story ends on a happy note. Ross's father will always be in his thoughts, and life goes on, as he plays a ball game with his daughter that his father used to play with him. This ending makes Seeds much more a story about coping with loss than preventing the inevitable. In Mom's Cancer, an early scene shows a full-body shot of Fees' representation in the book. We know that he's not overly enhancing his own appearance because he looks human and relatable. From the chemotherapy scene later, we learn that his cartoonist perspective leads to him processing difficult information as comedic metaphor, a recurring motif in Mom's Cancer. The story even leaves his mother's point of view to focus on Fees at one point and his desperate search for a cure to the disease. He quickly realizes how difficult this will be and is overwhelmed by the literature. When he visits his mother after several rounds of chemo, she's in a sad state, looking weaker than ever. Fees chooses to identify each item in this scene with a label, almost as if he wanted to capture the moment and break it down by its disparate parts. His father becomes an issue at one point, but the main takeaway from that subplot is that he doesn't need his father's validation or opinions to make decisions. The smiling oncologist is yet another unwanted voice trying to change Fees' perspective, but he's adjusted enough as an adult at this point to ignore her attempts to make things feel okay. Things are not okay at this point, and Fees wants the reader to know that. One of the most famous panels from Mom's Cancer, the 5% scene, shows how a change in perspective can bring the reader even further into the story. Fees' mother is looking at us, as she is looking at her son. The pain in her eyes is real, and the story, while ending on a much more upbeat note, frames this scene as a chapter in a longer story, and mentions also how Fees changed his experience and changed how he viewed this experience after telling it. What is it about shifting the focus of the story to those who live with cancer patients and not the patients themselves that readers find so appealing? Is it because everyone knows someone with the disease? We like to see our own perspectives displayed in media, but then what of those with cancer themselves? Do they feel the same about Seeds and Mom's Cancer? If anything, I would imagine it's more comforting to know what it's like for your own support group dealing with you and how much less of a burden you are on them than you think. If we take a moment to zoom out, see how someone else views the situation, we become more open-minded about disease and the lives of others. And this is why Seeds and Mom's Cancer are such good examples of comics that use perspective and point of view to engender empathy.